Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have a movie review that I meant to upload on Friday, which was like 3 days ago, and I've just been busy. Haven't had the time, haven't uploaded anything on my Goosebumps channel in like 2 weeks. I feel like I'm in a confessional or something. I can't scrounge the time up with going to the gym again now that the renovations are almost, like we have like 1 day of work left, finally. Just because things slowed down a little bit right when we thought we were going to be done, we weren't. And it's been hectic around here, but work has also been very, very, very stressful. Anyway, we're going to talk about a film that I saw on YouTube. Well, no, it was Prime. It was free to watch on Prime currently. It's a 2020 Halloween-themed movie called Bad Candy, and it's actually like an anthology type of thing. Not really, but kind of. About a bunch of different short stories taking place in the same town. It's all strung together with one story, kind of like all these movies like VHS do. And I'm typically a fan of this. The problem is that you get a lot of crappy, low-budget offshoots. And from what I had seen of this movie before I started watching it, it looked like it was a little bit above low budget. You know what I mean? Like just a modest, decent budget, maybe some decent funding in there, and maybe some cool ideas, particularly with the opening of the film, which is kind of the wraparound story of a radio host named Chilly Billy and his sidekick that he kind of, runs the station with on Halloween night. And they essentially tell, and this is where the confusion kind of comes in. I think both of those actors are good, particularly Chilly Billy himself. I think he has a great voice for radio. A lot of the time in movies you see somebody get casted as a radio show host, and they don't sound like that. They don't have the right kind of voice, the right rhythm of speaking or anything like that. This guy's clearly had enough exposure as either an actor or an actual DJ or whatever to be able to sound like an official DJ radio host type of guy. And he worked really well. It's probably the best performance in the entire film, to be honest with you. This movie's like an hour and 45 minutes, by the way. It's draining. We'll get to why. It took me days to watch this because I just could not get sucked into it. Anyway, this movie gets a little confusing because the stories that Chilly Billy and his sidekick are talking about are supposed to be like urban legend stories and whatnot. And they'll tell different tales here and there. And it seems to me like the way the story is being told versus the things we're seeing of the story being told, that those things are actually happening tonight on the sidelines outside of the radio show that they're hosting at the current moment. So how are they urban legends if they're currently happening right now? There's like one story they tell towards the end of the movie that it's an actual urban legend that took place years ago and it kind of ties to now and different things like that. This movie wasn't very good, I'll be honest with you. The acting almost across the board is not the best. You have an actor here or there that does something decent with the material they're given. It's kind of just one of those situations you don't really have a super special script nor super special dialogue within that not so super special script, and it suffers from that. But it's also kind of like, if you can't have solid dialogue, at least have solid characters. If you can't have that, have a really great story. I can forgive bland characters and bland dialogue and bland writing of anything if you have a really engaging story. And this is not that. This movie's not that. You might have a decent person pop up here and there depending on what we're talking about, and it works well. I do think the sets are really well done. That seems to be where most of the money went. The costumes, not so much. Some of the stories, particularly the one that's kind of like the first story Chilly Billy talks about, is based around an urban legend about a clown. And so there's some CGI in here, I'm going to be honest with you. The CGI in this movie is garbage. It looks like straight-to-video CGI almost always. Some of the stories try desperately to get you to laugh. It's not funny. This film, I've seen Trick or Treat one time in my life when I was very young when it first came to DVD, and I was not impressed, but I was also very young. I wasn't used to anthology movies, didn't really like things like Creepshow. And I would say that from what I remember, Trick or Treat is very much more clever than this movie. So I need to watch Trick or Treat again at some point. I'm going to save that for Halloween, possibly. But this movie just really drops the ball. It really does. I feel like it just does not do what you want it to do. It's a shame, as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of sad to see how it just doesn't hold up. It tries. It really does try. I think the film directors try. There are even some shots that I'm like, that's very clever directing. But it doesn't work. So much of it doesn't work. some of the offshoot stories we have in here. You might have like a Halloween party. There's a story about these two guys that are kind of trying to like get with this particular girl, and the one is wearing a Make America Great Again hat. So the film at one point goes out of its way to have a big old, almost a tangent about, not like with dialogue or anything, but almost like an insult towards Trump supporters. And it just becomes insulting and ridiculous and dumb, frankly. People die in this skit, in this particular section of the movie, that there's no way they would die like that in real life, at least that easily. The film tries to be very gory. It's not very good at that. There's one story in here that's probably the best one, almost. It was like, it's one particular guy that's, he's getting together with his buddies on Halloween night. He's like an Uber driver type of guy. And he kidnaps this one girl, not really kidnaps her, but drives her to her destination. Turns out she's a prostitute. And that story gets okay. There's one story about a little girl who has an abusive father. That one sucked. That was so bad. That was just slightly above the weird, Trump derangement syndrome section of the film. It's really not that good. The last section of the movie is about a ghost hunting crew thing, kind of like a TV show, like Ghost Adventures type of thing, and it just has nothing going for it. Not a single part of this movie is scary. The clown costume thing that I talked about for one of the earlier parts of the movie is embarrassing, and this guy shows up like all the time throughout this movie, like a Pennywise type of entity, but more demonic looking, but almost so just pathetic. Like, you can't put fake blinking on this guy or something to make it look like he's wearing a mask or something. It's sad, because there's a lot of this film that looks like it should be more taken care of, or a better movie than what it actually is. It's kind of depressing when you see this movie and really think about it and take it in. The music is solid sometimes, not always, but sometimes it has a little bit of a synthy throwback to the 80s type of thing. I kind of like that. The look of the movie is pretty solid. I would say the cinematography is pretty decent for this movie. It looks like a modern theatrical release a lot of the time. It's not amazing, it's not perfective or anything, but it looks decent. But everything else is wasted. Everything. It's sad. It's sad. And even my boy, who was in Creepshow Season 2, Derek Russo, shows up in this. I was really shocked to see him. I couldn't believe he was in this. And I even like the poster for the movie, for Bad Candy. It's pretty cool looking. It's just sad to see how many things kind of misrepresent what this movie is. And I like anthology films. The older I've gotten, the more I like that. One of my favorites being Christmas Horror Story. I really like that one. With Krampus and Santa fighting on the cover. But it just seems like this whole film, everything about it just sucks. I'm gonna be honest with you, there's things about it that I like, but not enough to give it what I typically give movies like that as my rating at the end of the review. It's just a shame. It's a really big shame, and I had to have a palate cleanser, so I started rewatching the original Nightmare on Elm Street to try to feel better after watching this piece of trash. So this is the only review I have for what was last week, but today is Monday as I upload this, so I'm sorry about it. I just wanted to, actually find something I could enjoy. I probably won't start my reviews for the Nightmare on Elm Street films yet or anything. I probably won't even review that one yet, because I did finally get a copy of Scream, finally. So I plan on watching that either today, the next couple of days, or something. So I tried my best last week to get a copy, and I could not find a copy. It was nowhere to be found in my particular part of Virginia. But anyway, that's pretty much my thoughts on Bad Candy. Avoid it. It sucks. It's such a waste of your time, and it's so sad because this has the potential to be good in some areas. One of them in particular that could have gotten more and more wild and instead just got more and more gross and weird was one about a girl who works in like an autopsy type of thing, or like a funeral home or something like that, a morgue, and she is just bored and drunk, and it just gets more and more odd and gross, and it's not very creative. It's like a ripoff of a Stephen King story I know that I read many years ago. It's still stuck into my head because of how good it was, but this is not. This is a shame, frankly. I hate that for it. Anyway, when it comes to Bad Candy, did you guys see this movie? What did you think about it? Put your thoughts and comments down in the comment section down below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say about this piece of crap. If I had to rate it on a 5-star basis, taking everything into account, from the bad acting to the bad script choices to the bad script in general, to the bad plots, to the TDS syndrome, all of these things, I would probably give it a 1 out of 5 stars. It's not good. It looks good, but it's not good. That's the sad part. I don't really find myself being able to say a movie is worth a 2 out of 5 star rating when that's typically say for movies that I think are awful or even bad, but I have certain things that I really like about it. The cinematography is not enough to save this movie, frankly, and it's kind of sad. But props to the cinematographer. If that happens to be the director or whoever, you have talent there. You did well with that, but no. No, I'm sorry. Nope. Anyway, what are your thoughts on this movie? Put your thoughts in comments down below. I would love to hear what you have to say about this one. Thank you for watching. God bless you. Goodbye.